Welcome back to Close Up. They are leaders on the municipal front lines of the COVID-19 fight. Not only are they managing through the virus, but right now they're also trying to figure out what the ultimate budget impact of this pandemic is going to be. This morning we're joined by Mayor Jim Donches of Nashua and George Hansel, the mayor of Keene. Thank you, mayors, both, for connecting with us today. And let's start with Mayor Donches. Given the proximity to more heavily populated Massachusetts, you've always seen more volume from this virus, about 180 active cases right now in Nashua. What's the state of the pandemic fight in the Gate City right now?
Well, our public health department is working every day to try to eliminate the pandemic. Certainly the numbers are better than they were. You cited the number, almost 200 active cases, but that was nearly 600 active cases a few weeks ago. So we've made progress on the numbers. The number of cases is coming down, but we've still had 77 families who've suffered the loss of a loved one. And we still need to be careful with our masks, with our social distancing and avoiding large gatherings because we know the virus is still out there.
Mayor Hansel, for you, the state lists about 60 active cases in Keene. Of course, Keene State is a central part of your community. How much of that campus activity in terms of the virus is driving what you see in the city itself?
Well, we're feeling pretty good right now. Our numbers have gone up and down, but we're about as well positioned as we can be. There's still a risk, obviously, but we're working every week. You know, on a daily basis, I'm talking to the president of the college. We're working with our local hospital here and our county friends. So I think we're as well positioned as we possibly can be dealing with really an unprecedented pandemic.
Mayor Donches, you recently announced that the city of Nashua is potentially looking at a 5.5% tax increase. How much of that is the pandemic impact on local revenues, and how much of that is the forecast of what might be coming from the state budget cuts?
Well, the 5.5 I talked about is directly related to actions by the state of New Hampshire. Specifically, the raising of our pension bill, unrelated to wages, and Keene is being hit by the same thing. In our case, it's $4.4 million raise. And we've also been advised that school aid will be down from $39 million to $32, roughly a $7.4 million increase. So decrease in aid. So when you put those two things together, increased pensions, $4.4 million, decreased school aid, $7.4 million, we have a 5.5% tax increase before we even get to the city budget.
How about you, Mayor Hansel? Are you looking at any cuts or tax increases to try and just maintain a level of funding for what you've got going in your city?
It's a little too early to tell. The city's just started putting our budget together. As usual, you know, we're trying to hold the line on spending to give property taxpayers a break, especially in light of COVID. But, you know, the Monadnock region often gets ignored. And so they need to really remember that we're a growing and dynamic member of the state's economy. And every week, whether it be with the mayor's group or just on our own, we're really working hard to make sure our voice is heard and conquered, that our needs are considered when these decisions are being made.
Mayor Donches, when it comes to the federal aid package that's being debated in Washington, that $1.9 trillion, we know that there's likely going to be some kind of dedicated fund for municipalities that will sort of go straight to, you know, there's no middleman this time around, no state control of the money going down. So what happens when you get that money, and what are you going to use it for?
Well, of course, with the state hitting us like they are, without this federal aid, where you're going to have a very tight budget. I've already eliminated a couple of major positions to save money. If we get the federal aid directly from the federal government, I mean, we've got to look at, first of all, trying to restore some of the revenues and the issues, address some of the issues I just talked about. And we would try to use it to avoid layoffs of our essential workers, fire, police, teachers. So that's, I think, where we would use it in terms of first priority.
And Mayor Hansel, how about you and Keene? You know, is there a ballpark sense of how much money you might be able to get out of this, and then what you would put it toward?
You know, I'm not gonna count the chickens until they're home, so to speak. But I'm hoping that we do have some help. It would certainly be necessary and appreciated. And really, what I'd be looking for is some kind of infrastructure support to help us take care of the roads and bridges. It's been a tough it's been a tough year. The pandemic has taken up all of our attention, and we're really looking towards the future. So I'm trying to figure out, how do we come out of this pandemic stronger than we even were before? I mean, southwestern New Hampshire is growing. We've had a once-in-a-generation crisis here, but we really have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to grow economically coming out of this. How do we position ourselves to meet our full potential? And so any support from Washington that could help with that would be great.
I'm curious to hear from both of you. Where are revenues hurt the most by this pandemic? Mayor Donches.
Well, the loss of the school aid is a big issue, and that's pandemic related. We are also looking at the possibility that the commercial tax base will decline in value because, we have malls and other commercial properties that may be affected in terms of their value by the fact that they're not open or they haven't been fully open for a long time. So certainly loss of property tax revenues. We've seen other revenues down around the downtown, parking revenues and other things. But I agree with Mayor Hansel that we can't count our chickens before they're hatched. So we are, we're taking a very careful approach.
A little bit of a freeze there. Mayor Hansel, as we try to get Mayor Donches back there. Mayor Hansel, what about in Keene? Where do you see revenues being hurt the most by this pandemic?
Parking revenue has been hurt. I mean, before the pandemic, Keene's downtown was rocking and rolling. We were booming, going in exactly the direction that we wanted to go. And obviously that's been curtailed a bit by the pandemic. So we've had some parking revenues that have been short. We're worried about the retirement system funds coming down from the state, certainly. But again, we're really looking ahead. We have some amazing projects in the pipeline. I'm looking at potentially $30 million of new brick and mortar development in Keene after this is all over. We have manufacturers here and hundreds of job openings here in Keene. So if you're looking for a high-paying job and you want an unbeatable quality of life, give my office a call. We want you here in Keene because we're going to need you when we come out of this pandemic.
We know school reopenings have been a major flashpoint, and particularly in cities around the state. Mayor Donches, we know this has been a big discussion in Nashua as well. Districts in both of your cities are in hybrid mode. From a personal perspective, and starting with you, Mayor Donches, do you think students should be or teachers and students should be trying to get back in the classroom as close to 5 days a week as possible, or do you have bigger concerns there?
Well, of course, we all want our schools to reopen. And we all want to protect the safety of our families, our schools, our community. And so the best way to achieve that would be to vaccinate the teachers right away. And I've called upon the state health department, the governor, to make that decision. So far, that hasn't occurred. But we definitely want to get back to full time as soon as we can, consistent with keeping people safe.
Mayor Hansel, what's the conversation like in Keene there? We know you guys are in hybrid as well.
Yep, we're in hybrid, and you have to remember Keene is an independent school district, so I have limited input over there, but we are meeting. I'm working with the school board members. I'm working with the school administration, and I think that because we're collaborating and sharing information and working on these sort of bigger community things, whether it be coordinating vaccinations and sharing best practices to be safe in these government buildings, I really think we're well positioned, and I'd love to see students back in the classroom. I think it's really important for the students themselves, most certainly, but parents and teachers I know want to be back in the classroom as well.
Mayor Hansel, we heard you talk about this a little bit earlier, but we know that the president and the governor do these sort of group Zoom meetings to talk about the approach to the pandemic. Something that's evolved here is that all of the mayors in New Hampshire get together on a Zoom call to talk about what's going well and what's not going well in their respective cities. So, Mayor Donches, tell us about this all-mayors Zoom call and sort of what gets talked about and discussed.
Well, it's a very valuable discussion. George and I have been on a number of those calls, and we talk about the issues of the loss of aid, certainly the loss of school aid. We've also talked about the increase in the pension bills from the state, and other issues that concern all of us. There are a number of bills pending in the legislature that could affect cities and towns, so we talk about those things. But just getting together with the others, meeting George and the other mayors on a regular basis has been very valuable.
And Mayor Hansel, what's the benefit as you see it from Keene with these calls?
Well, we represent between the mayors and the cities in New Hampshire, we represent a large portion of the state's population. And so our combined voice is just going to have a bigger impact. And that's especially important to me, being over here in the southwest corner that sometimes gets forgotten. But being able to collaborate and work with Mayor Donches and Mayor Craig and the other mayors in the state has just been really great. And I think it's having a big impact. When we talk, we're amazed constantly how similar the situation is in the different cities around the state. So we're able to just apply our horsepower, so to speak, to getting these issues addressed and making sure that whether it's the state or the federal government, they understand the city's perspective. Homelessness and issues related to the state budget have been probably the big conversations that we've been having, but I think it'll extend to other things, and we're going to use this sort of collective power to advocate for our citizens and our cities.
All right, Mayor Hansel and Mayor Donches, thank you so much for your time today on Close Up, and good luck in the COVID-19 fight.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.